All right. So I'm going to watch over here to see if it works. Now, this is a test because I am actually skipping my server to see. So I have been streaming to my server, which records it as an FLV and then converts it to a WebM. And at the same time, forwarding that stream to YouTube. And this time I'm going straight to YouTube and I'm trying to see if if it'll have the same problem, which I don't think it will, which is basically that after I stream, the beginning of the video is not visible. And over time it becomes visible, but I check the next day, it's still not there, which is like basically even if it comes visible after that, people will already have not seen it. So anyway, having a little New England beer here. So I tried to make a couple videos, and it's just, I was discussing things on Facebook with a conservative uncle who I love dearly. And it just all seems related. It's just so pointless, so difficult. I mean, when I was political blogging, I started a political blog with one of the founders of Red State. And the idea was that he and this other liberal or more liberal centrist kind of Democrat blogger, that they would argue, and they wanted me to post and stuff, but mostly I wanted to hold off from that. And I acted as the producer. We made some podcasts and stuff, and I was acting as producer. I wanted to facilitate this kind of conversation, and it all fell apart. I mean, people didn't want that. Josh Trevino, the guy I'm talking about, he's a writer, and it was hard to get writing gigs when you're having a blog with the liberal guys, allegedly. And like cooperation is taboo. Cooperation to have an argument with both sides. It's ridiculous, and it's just gotten worse and worse throughout my life. And my uncle in the end is like, well, I disagree with you. And I'm like, well, that's obvious. It's like, well, the facts would help. It's like, look, you guys, we agree on the facts. We still won't agree on the conclusion. It's not because of a disagreement on the facts. We have no common facts. It's deeper than that. We're not even willing to have some common facts. And and there's people on both sides. I mean, I certainly see it on the right, but it's also there on the left. People that just think now, it's their allergic reaction to the authoritarianism of expertise that they just think the facts are, you know, like they get to decide what, even the facts they don't know, well, they'll be like this. They just know ahead of time, and it's insane. Um, but if we did all agree on the facts, we're still going to have different perspectives because we want different things. We're willing to take different risks and so on and so forth. But we're not even trying to get the same facts. And if we did, it would be because that would give us all the same conclusions, which it wouldn't. And democracy is not actually about trying to convince everybody else of that your view is correct. It's about how to go forward with people that you disagree with, But we all think, hey, let's keep the water going. Let's keep educating our kids how to read and write. Things like that you might be able to agree on. But if people are like just they're upset, they reject the very idea that you should even find common facts, because then they'll just make arguments you have to listen to, and it's all bullshit or whatever the idea is. It just presages a big failure of democracy. Like, oh, people can't actually be democratic. When they're democratic, what they're hoping for is to get their way totally by convincing people of the same facts. What is this? That whole thing played? Anyway, so I made a video on two things. One was on Trump and the Iran thing, and it's just basically, the British discovered oil over there in 1908 or whatever, moved in opportunistically after World War One, fucked over the Iranians, took their oil, treated them like slaves. Historical review of the record show that the British didn't even pay for the crude they took. Like, they shortchanged them on that as well. They elected their own, democratic leader who nationalized the oil industry, which is fair. It's their oil, and it was getting raped from them. And Mossadegh. Is that it? Mossadegh. Something like that. And we overthrew him, the British, the US CIA, with a military coup and put in the Shah. And then in 1980, that all fell apart. And that's how we got the current regime. And it has moderated itself, from a fundamentalist religious thing into a, just more and more moderate. Far from, a totally free democracy at the moment. But, among Middle East countries, certainly one of the more modern or liberal or tolerant or whatever. Women can be educated and things like that. And all we need to do is let them enter the world of nations and we can get over it. But no, and Trump is all like, how embarrassing. You guys have fallen. So once proud nation under the Shah, basically. It's just ridiculous. And the other thing was I did a thing about how to philosophy better about confusion. But, I just don't really feel like fluttering around to make these ideas, like, to paint them in colors that people are going to appreciate. To me, it's just like, hey, here's the pearls. You don't like pearls? Fine. Whatever. Here's the information. Do with it what you will. I don't really like having to sweeten it or sell it or anything, because the idea with confusion is just that, the doorway to knowledge goes through confusion. You can't learn about something you think you know unless you become confused. Confusion is taken as a negative emotion. In reality, through confusion lies knowledge. And, but what am I supposed to say, too? Because, I'm biased. I like M.C. Escher. I like looking at optical illusions. I like having my mind be confused and that feeling, not because I want to stick with the confusion, but because that feeling of resolution. And you can confuse yourself, and it comes back together. Sometimes it comes back together the same, but sometimes it comes back different. So it takes bravery and all of that. But, and it's like, why would I sell that to you guys? I'm not the only one that knows it. And, basically people think this idea that when you have, a YouTube channel and you're trying to click with your audience, and you click with your audience, and as if you like change the audience's mind, when really, obviously, it's more like just magnets. You're collecting them. I mean, The Amazing Atheist didn't turn a bunch of people into Amazing Atheist fans out of, stamp collectors. They were already that way. There was another guy that was that way. One of them had a YouTube channel, and the other ones went, oh, hey, he's representing me. And then it just collects him. Like, it's very hard to change the person. Now, it can be done. Like, you could say the Beatles got all these fans, and then they got all 60s enlightened, and people followed them. But I would say even in that case, no. They clicked with their audience because they were on the same wavelength, and that's probably where the wavelength was going. On the other hand, yes, sometimes somebody can have a personal awakening, and a bunch of people that already like them can follow that, but they have to at least to have been primed for that awakening. So mostly you're just collecting what already exists, and that's fine. That makes total sense. It's like, well, the fruit has to be ripe. You can't go and ripen the fruit. It has to ripen on its own. So fine, in which case it's like, is society really on the edge of understanding why confusion is a crucial intellectual emotion? No, they aren't even ready to understand that things like curiosity and the feeling of eureka, and that these even are emotions, that their intellects, there's so many steps before. Why try to sweeten it? You would actually have to turn it into something that it is not. You'd have to, like, take this idea that's from the future, and you would have to paint it up like it's an idea from the past, so people could go, "Oh, I get that." What is the point or the purpose? We can't even settle on common facts. You have to uphold your end of the argument to define your terms and present your case, and to engage it. It can't be done from one side. So let's see if there's comments. The Truth Quest says they don't want that. I don't remember what I was saying whenever it was that you must have typed that. Truth Quest. So I have a feeling that so the test really is already sufficiently done, because, I'm just going to stop this and I'm going to see when the front of the video shows up, or if it shows up right away. And I have a real quandary about it too, because, the bottom line is that I don't want YouTube to be the curator of all of my content. Of course, I could keep downloading videos. I could upload them straight to YouTube and then download them and put them on my own archive. Strictly speaking, that would cover it, but I don't really want to do that. I want to have a video site of my own. I'm fine to co-publish it up to YouTube. Now, a safer way is just when I stream to my site, save it, upload that to YouTube. That's more likely to get the entire file. But then it doesn't stream live, which I like the idea of being able to stream live. So I don't know, and I'm not a purist, so it's like, it's not a protest against YouTube per se. So maybe, if I want to talk to the YouTube, infrastructure, just do that and copy it over here, so that I can possibly have the live interaction. But that's the other thing. What's the point of that? I really want to have conversation. I don't think this is about making a living off YouTube or any of those kinds of things that people think. What I like is that we have this like worldwide citizen band video, and so you could talk to any kind of person, and I'm into talking to people that either one, want to discuss these fundamental things going on in society, and two, or plus, just people with interesting ideas, unique ideas. After 50 years, a lot of interesting ideas I found, they repeat, and they're common to me. So, the more interesting, the better. So, both the search for the interesting and weird and whole spectrum of ideas, and also it's like, well, our society, there's solutions. I would love to discuss my solutions with somebody seriously. I'm interested in other people's solutions, but there's nobody. Let's discuss the fact that there's an energy solution called nuclear energy. Let's talk about there's a better way to run elections called instant runoff voting. Let's talk about the fact that if you don't let immigrants into your country that are willing to work in your industries, possibly because they're coming from a worse situation, then your industries instead move to those other people's countries. Yay, build a wall. Whatever we would want to talk about, it's like it all seems impossible now, right? Like none of that is going on. Nobody's listening to the other side besides me. Nobody's looking for a solution that's in between two different things. Right now, in my deduction of what solutions are available, the United States actually has to split into multiple countries, because there is no solution. The only solution is you do yours down there where you have a majority, and we'll do ours over here where we have a majority, and that third group can do theirs where they have a majority. That's like kind of a cop-out. I'd rather keep the country together. I'd rather have a global concept, but Who knows? Maybe by breaking down smaller and rethinking how borders work, and because I believe in a federated world, we don't want a one world only government. It should be, you know, break down into the counties, the states, the counties, towns, the individuals. Um, and where are the people that actually want to talk about that? It's more like you got people that kind of like Trump because they hated Hillary, but they're liberal. And what are they going for? Well, they get more viewers. The news channels, more viewers. Liberal, conservative, more viewers. That's them. It's like their personal thing, which then brings up, it's like, should I just? I'm getting kind of older. Should I just, like, fuck, the world's crazy, and just focus on carving out some place for me to spend my final years? Um, that's a difficult idea because one of the things that I believe in is trying to take part in the world and change it. And even just let alone action, which is sort of a separate thing, but trying to change it in this peaceful way of discussing the issues of the day and of the century and of the millennia, and just have an open discussion where we put facts out, and I accept some of the facts you bring up because I just hadn't thought of them, but there they are, and vice versa. That just doesn't seem to be happening, does it? So anyway, pretty sure how this test is going to turn out, and so this won't be archived on my channel unless I go out of my way to download it there, which I could set up an automated thing, but I just don't like that. I prefer the idea that I could just stream to my site, and partly it's like, why should I do anything to get the YouTube audience? Right? Like, I could just get my website, public, which I haven't shared it, but I mean, it could be shared. And then, I could always use YouTube to say, oh, here it is. And I don't care if there's 5 people, as long as it's non-zero, then maybe there could be a fucking conversation. I'd rather have one person in a conversation than 1,000 subscribers and no conversation. It's fucking ridiculous. What's the point of this shit? It's like the internet has really gone downhill. My faith that the sort of the spirit of the net would somehow rectify the noise and somehow purify the water as it goes over the meadow. I don't believe that anymore. So yeah, it's still streaming over there. Let's see, any chats? Nope, no more. They don't want that. Something I said about they. Truth Quest says they don't want it. I don't know what it was. All right, and so how long is that? That's like 18 minutes. So, okay, 18 minutes, so we'll see if it's 18 and a half minutes once it uploads. All right, cheers, everybody. I really don't know how to set this up unless there's some sort of requisite piece.